Okay, so I'm a week late with this, but it's been that sort of week, if you know what I mean. But I'm here now, ready to answer questions by $3 patrons on Patreon or Subscribestar, and if you'd like to answer questions for next month, just click on the links below to become a subscriber at the $3 level. We'll start with Tomasz Urbański, who has a loose quote from Random Comment under Random University Professor Defending Socialism type of video. It's not worth talking to capitalists because they redefine capitalism so you cannot debunk it. Well, that's confession through projection, isn't it? If you've ever wandered all over the countryside trying to follow a socialist's definitions, you know what I'm talking about, but of course I have the video showing definitively what the definition of capitalism is according to mainstream economics, so really we all know this is an excuse, right? It's not the way we define capitalism that's the reason they can't debunk it. They can't debunk it because they can't debunk it. And that's just all there is to it. Okay, Rainbow Asteroids asks, how would you respond to an argument along the lines of, we need vaccine mandates, mandatory car insurance, etc. to protect yourself from others? Well, first of all, it would be nice if they could actually show if it worked. I mean, y'all know about the accident I had back in '06. The drunk that hit me wasn't insured, despite being required by government to do so. And I remember when North Carolina passed the seatbelt laws and they started putting up these signs saying, hey, 85% compliant or whatever it was, but they didn't tell us how many people were wearing their seatbelts before then. I mean, if 90% had been wearing their seatbelts before the passage of the law, that would mean 5% had stopped wearing their seatbelts because of the law, and it would be counterproductive. So, as always, look for what they're not telling you. Just like with the vaccine mandates, we've seen this, and also with the mask mandates. Regardless of how effective vaccines and masks are, there wasn't really any difference that the mandates made. You still had about the same portion of the population getting vaccinated, and about the same portion wearing masks. If it did make a difference to people's behavior, then it just meant that it caused just as many people not to do those things as the number of people it encouraged to do so who wouldn't have done before. So yeah, the burden of proof is on them and they haven't met it. That's really the response. Do not let them shift the burden of proof on you. Okay, let's go over to Patreon, and since Darth Vega asks kind of a big question, I'm going to save his for last and do these in reverse order, going down with that one guy at the bottom who says, I've been a big fan of Insane Clown Posse for years, and I love a lot of the other bands that Psychopathic Records has too. My question is, what do you think about their music and juggalo culture in general? Whoop whoop, Shane. I remember when Insane Clown Posse came out, and they started off as a joke band, and I thought they were pretty funny, and then they grew into something more serious, but as funny as it was never really my thing. I just never really got into it, so. The Executioner asks, why is Rothbard looked down upon as a historian? The Progressive Era, one of his finest works, had been criticized for using Gabriel Kolko. What are your thoughts? I mean, the real test of it is, was he being factually incorrect? And that's the part they neglect to show. And I think he's just looked down upon because he doesn't fit their narrative. So, remember that. History is a narrative. They always say history is written by the winners. Well, it's probably more accurate to say history is written by the powerful. You know, a less extreme version of 1984, when someone gets into power and then revises all the books to say we were always at war with Eurasia or whatever. To a lesser extent, that's what happens. And you just have to keep in mind the difference between historical revisionism and historical negationism. And that's one reason they try to use historical revisionism as a pejorative by mislabeling historical negationism. Historical revisionism is just revising history based on new evidence, which is what you should do. Historical negationism is when you neglect certain pieces of evidence just because they don't fit the narrative you want to tell. So always keep that in mind. Alright, now let's finish off with Darth Vega's question. Hi Shane. I was wondering, how worried should I be about the possibility of a malicious software update making its way into the Ubuntu Software update pipeline via the apt system? If you're talking about the actual Ubuntu repositories, not very worried. These things are digitally signed, and your computer is not going to install them unless the signature matches. And that's only going to be the case if it's someone official at Ubuntu who has the access to the private keys needed to do that. And they do a really good job of securing those things, so it's not impossible. We've seen breaches happen, but they do a good job of protecting them that it's not very realistic, and just keep an eye on all the security alerts as always, and just make sure you've protected yourself no matter what. But the other thing about the app system is you can add on other repositories, so the question is, can you trust those repositories? So, for example, if you run Wine and you decided to run Wine from the Wine HQ repositories instead of the ones that come with Ubuntu, how much do you trust Wine? Well, the Wine HQ guys, they're pretty trustworthy too. But then you see all these guys who are just, individuals with their own GitHub repository or whatever, and so they give you a way to install it via app, and they say, hey, install our repository, and when you add their repository, it puts their public key on there, which means your computer will accept anything that's been signed with the corresponding private key. So all these extra little guys who are coming up with their own repositories, how do you trust them? Can you trust them not to let their private keys get away? Maybe you can, but you need to consider that. So yeah, it's possible to do that, but then it's always possible for malicious software to make its way into an application installer. So as always, be vigilant, take backups, prepare yourself accordingly. Alright, well that's it for the questions asked in April. We've already got supporters asking me questions for May. Again, please check that out. You can subscribe at the $3 level, and there's all sorts of other ways to support this channel at donate.bogosity.tv. And of course, also hit like, subscribe, and the bell. Comment and share this video to keep it ranking in the algorithms and get the view counts up so this channel can be more popular. Because the algorithm certainly isn't being a friend to me, so I depend on my real friends for that. Thank you very much. Until next time, stay strong and be free.